Okay, let's talk about AI. The revolution is obviously here, right? But the big question for so many of us is, how do you actually invest in it? Without just throwing your money at the hype and hoping for the best. Well, today, we're going to break down a real plan.
And yeah, it's a huge concern, isn't it? The market is just flooded with companies, and every single one of them is screaming that they're the next big thing. So trying to pick just one, it feels less like a smart investment strategy and a whole lot more like you're just buying a lottery ticket.
I mean, this is the question, right? The one that keeps investors staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. Did I bet on the right model, the right chip, the right software company? It feels totally impossible to know for sure. But here's an idea. What if we're asking the completely wrong question?
This quote, this right here, is the absolute key. It completely reframes the whole problem. Forget about trying to find that one perfect, shiny skyscraper. The real strategy? You invest in the entire booming metropolis that is AI.
So let's get this straight. Our core strategy is super simple. Don't pick a building, bet on the city. And now let's pull out the blueprint and see exactly how we're going to do that.
Because you can't build a city without a plan, right? So here's our blueprint. We're going to break the whole AI ecosystem down into 4 really essential layers. You've got the architects, the ones with the big ideas, the builders, the folks who actually make it real, the utilities, the companies that provide the power, and finally, the managers who keep the whole thing running.
All right, first up, the architects. These are the big thinkers, the companies creating the foundational AI models. We're talking about the actual blueprints for our entire AI-powered future. These guys aren't just playing the game, they're literally writing the rules.
So who are these master architects? Well, you've got Google with Gemini, which they're plugging into, well, everything they own. You have Meta with Llama, which is this super powerful open source model that's really driving innovation all over the place. And here's a twist for you. NVIDIA. They're not just about the chips. Their Neutron models are major players in the architect game too.
Okay, so blueprints are great, but you can't build a city with just a stack of paper, can you? You need actual builders. You need heavy machinery. And that brings us to the next layer, the hardware. This is the picks and shovels part of the AI gold rush.
And the key builders here are the companies making the actual physical stuff that makes AI work. Of course, you have NVIDIA, the absolute king of GPUs. Then there's Broadcom, a beast in connectivity. You've got Taiwan Semiconductor, or TSMC, the foundry that basically builds everything for everyone. And then there's Micron, who specializes in a really critical type of memory. And we'll circle back to them in a bit.
But look, when we talk about builders, it's not an even playing field. Some are just way more essential than others. In fact, one company has achieved something close to total dominance. Just think about this number for a second. 92%.
What is that? That's NVIDIA's share of the data center GPU market. That's not just a lead. That's practically a monopoly on the single most important piece of hardware in all of AI. They're not just a building in the city. They're the foundational skyscraper that everything else is built around.
And get this, NVIDIA isn't the only builder with that kind of crazy market power. There's another company that controls a different but just as critical part of the whole process. And their market share? A jaw-dropping 90%.
That's TSMC's piece of the pie for making the world's most advanced processors. Seriously, stop and think about that. Almost every single high-end chip, doesn't matter if it's from NVIDIA, AMD, Apple, you name it, it's built by TSMC. They are the one construction company you absolutely cannot build the city without.
Okay, so our city has blueprints, and the buildings are going up. What's missing? Well, it needs power. It needs water. All the essential services to actually function. It needs utilities. And in the world of AI, utilities means the heavy-duty physical infrastructure that keeps these massive data centers from, well, falling over.
And we're talking about some seriously specialized companies here. You've got someone like Vertiv, who builds these incredibly complex liquid cooling systems. Why? Because you have to stop these giant clusters of GPUs from literally melting. And then you've got companies like IREN, who are all about securing and delivering the insane amounts of power needed to run these new so-called AI factories. All right, our city's built. The lights are on. Now what? We need to manage the place. We need something like an operating system to keep things running smoothly, and we definitely need a police force to keep it safe. And that's where software and security come in, our final layer. And for this layer, we're looking at 2 key managers, Palantir and CrowdStrike. You can think of Palantir as the city's central OS, helping huge organizations make sense of all their data.
And on the security side, CrowdStrike is the digital police force. And the ironic thing, they're using AI to defend the city from threats that are, you guessed it, also being cooked up with AI.
Okay, so we have the full city blueprint now. But cities evolve, right? So let's look ahead to 2026 and see how the construction plan is shifting. Because there's a really specific change in focus happening.
And this really lays it out. The strategy is narrowing, it's getting laser-focused on what you could call pure AI hardware plays. So companies that have a lot of other stuff going on, like Amazon or ARM, are being swapped out for more direct hardware builders like Micron and TSMC. The whole idea is to double down on the companies that are fast, flexible, and 100% all in on building the foundation of this city.
So you might be asking, why a company like Micron specifically? Well, it all boils down to one absolutely critical piece of tech. High bandwidth memory, or HBM. The best way to think about it is like a superhighway for data, right next to the processor. AI models are just incredibly hungry for data, and HBM is what lets the chip get that data instantly. It is essential for top-tier performance, and because Micron is a master at making this stuff, they become a totally indispensable supplier. So, let's bring this all home. After looking at our AI city this way, what's the big takeaway?
Here's the most important part. The big takeaway is this. Once you understand the city's blueprint, who the architects are, the builders, the utilities, the managers, your entire approach changes. You're not buying a lottery ticket anymore. You're following an engineering plan. You stop gambling on one shiny building and start strategically investing in the inevitable, massive growth of the entire city.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We've mapped out the core of the city as it stands today, but cities never stop growing, do they? So the real question becomes, as this AI metropolis expands, what are the next big neighborhoods that are going to pop up? You know, things like robotics or biotech or autonomous cars. And more importantly, who's going to be designing and building